Good evening for my potentially new to me fuel sending unit and updated part fuel float unit. Backstory for this part, I was digging through a junkyard and found a 74 LTD station wagon. This particular one is a 73, so I don't even know if this is the right part, but you can't buy them for a station wagon, and it looked kind of right, so I went ahead and bought it anyway. This has a 71 part number. The D is 70s, the 1 is the year, so 71 part number for this. And then if it is right, these old brass floats, these are about the #1 reason the gas gauges stop working. They get holes in them, they fill up with gas, and then they sink. And then I'll get them off later. This one, it's got the same mounting point, but it's made out of the same foam stuff that they use for new fuel sending units, so this will never sink. So you change it once and then you never have to think about it again. I'm going to start by picking the back end of this thing up by the differential housing. Have these on the highest setting, put these on the axle tube. I'll probably just leave the jack here for extra measure unless I need to move it. I'm going to start by seeing if this even, it sure looks like it fits. I think it sits in a little bit sideways like this. Anyway, I'm going to see if this actually works the gas gauge before I go any further. Alright, before I do that, I'm going to give a little backstory here. When I first bought this car, this gas tank was installed incorrectly. This flange up here was up against this part of the car, and so the whole tank was like tilted and pushed forward, and this is the front of the car this way. Tilted forward, and so what that was doing with the combination of the factory air springs were wasted, so the car was sagging and almost dragging on the ground. What it would do, every time you hit a bump, this panhard bar here would hit this, knock it off, and so now this plastic plug is broken, it leaks gas. So about 3/4 full, it starts leaking gas everywhere. So that's where I'm at. So somebody's incompetence cost a part that you can't buy anymore. So pay attention to what you're doing. So I have my volunteer sitting in the car watching the fuel gauge. Plug this in, it's the same plug, so we're off to a good start. Now we'll just put this to full. Okay, so all the way full, this gauge reads just above 3/4 of a tank, which is unfortunate, but if it doesn't leak, I will definitely be willing to deal with that. I'm going to put this down all the way at low with it still plugged in to make sure it actually reads 0 and not quarter or something like that. This thing on all the way empty does read empty, but then all the way full on this gauge reads just above 3/4 on the gas gauge. So if this fits and doesn't leak, that is more than okay for my standards right now. I'm going to unplug this and work on taking this other unit out. See if I can stuff this wire somewhere. So I'm going to use these 5-gallon bucket lids to help contain the mess because I am really ill prepared for this project. Let's see if this will leak gas all over me. Probably will. Well, the clamp doesn't want to go over the hump, so I'm going to go this way. Going to prepare for the mess that this is probably going to make. I hope not. Okay. Okay, Okay, very minimal, but, oh, is it gonna stop? Okay, I'm going to put a rag over this and then stuff that over here, out of the way. So now to get these out, there's a lock ring right here. You can hit this tab here, or up there, over here. There's 4 of them. Turn that counterclockwise with a punch, a screwdriver, and a hammer. I hope you guys can forgive my use of a construction hammer. Very inappropriate use of this, but we're gonna do it. Make a big mess. This comes off like that. So I'm going to clean this off in an attempt to keep the dirt out of the tank. Should have done this before I took everything apart, but here we go. Let's clamp out of here, set that down, and pull the sending unit out. You gotta wiggle it a little bit. She comes out. And then just follow the tube and work it out. Oh, turns out I already put a updated part float in this thing, so we're all good to go. But anyway, as you can see here, I attempted to JB weld this at one time. It's still intact. I don't think the gas affected it, but it is broken. It did still leak. I slowed it down, but it did still leak. The whole sock for this thing is just missing, and it's just sucking whatever it can. So I'm gonna go ahead and pop this off because I'm going to reuse them. I better make sure it looks just about the same part though. Let's see. D1AF 9275BA. What are the odds that I find the exact part that I need in a junkyard? This is even the same identical part number. And this one's in much better condition. This one may or may not be original to the car, I don't know, but I'm not going to feel bad putting a new one. I'm not going to throw this away. I am going to keep it, because you never know. It gets you out of a pinch. But I'm going to use this guy. And a factory brass one. This one comes right. Okay, pop in our updated part 1. Okay, what I'm doing here is making sure the rubber gasket on the gas tank didn't stick to this or tear. Doesn't look like it did. I do not have a new one. It's still kind of squishy, so it should be alright. We're gonna try it. Start by feeding the float in like that, and then just feeding the pipe in. There we go. This has a little tab on it, so it only goes in one direction. Luckily for me, it's going to stay put. Get our lock ring. Get it started, and then turn it clockwise into place. And then you'll want to tap it clockwise into place as well. And put my clamp over this first. Get the hose. Get my rag off of it. Put hose over my new to me sending unit. Put the clamp on just behind the lip of the fuel feed hose, and then I'll pop the connector for the fuel gauge back on. And now with my gas tank correctly installed, and my help of my coilover shocks here helping hold the back end of this heavy car up, should never have a problem with this again. And so hopefully now I can have a non-leaking fuel tank. I think I'm going to put the wire behind the fuel line here. And I believe I had just below a half a tank when I started this project, so I will yell at my volunteer here to see where we're at. So my volunteer just told me I have a little bit over a quarter tank. I remembered it being maybe a little bit below a half, so that's probably about right. So I got unbelievably lucky that that was the same part. So now I'll run over to the gas station and see if it holds gas. Good evening from me. It is the next day on my way to the gas station to go fill up to see if it doesn't leak any fuel. So hopefully I can look like an idiot talking to myself and crawling under the car with a phone. Alright, I'm getting the 91 at $4.40 a gallon. I can't wait. Kicked off at 50 bucks, 11.5 gallons. And as we can see, as far as I can reach in there, it's not leaking at all. And the fuel gauge is at just above 3/4, and this is where it was at when I had the gauge manually held on full and it was outside of the tank still, so I'm pretty happy about this. If you like this video or if it helped you out in some way, be sure to like and subscribe. Okay. Put the clamp of the hose back on just behind the lip of the... Oh no. No, I get to start over. I was driving around all happy with myself, and look what we have here. A fuel leak. Jack it up and see where it's coming from. Why does a brand new jack have to squeak? It's brand new. Thing up here. We can see the sending unit, luckily enough, is not leaking. So that part is fixed. So what I'm suspecting is my filler neck leaking, or the grommet that goes into the tank is leaking. I had this problem with a different car a while ago. And filler neck, and that is exactly what's leaking. I need a filler neck gasket / grommet. Here's a better look at what's leaking here. The odds are pretty good that it's that filler tank gasket or grommet. In a later video, I will show you how I go about finding something like this and also replacing it.